Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. Alright guys, on this episode of Bullet Points, we have got to dive into an opinion piece written by a psychologist. And now that's really important for this piece because they're positing that because the constitutional carry bill passed in Georgia, there's absolutely going to be more suicides. And since there's absolutely going to be more suicides, women have higher rates of suicide, so they shouldn't be allowed to have guns. You can't make this up. Now keep in mind, this is the left. These are the people who are oriented towards female empowerment, or at least they brand themselves that way. Everything I'm about to show you is complete crap, to be quite honest with you. If you are an American, I don't care your sex, your color, or your creed, you have the Second Amendment right. That is flat out a mainstay on this channel, but enough of that. I'm going to do a quick read from our sponsor, and then I'm going to show you everything, all the shenanigans that this guy is up to, because this is important to note their stance and how much it shifts. Now, today's sponsor is Acre Gold. In today's economic environment, inflation is actively diminishing the value of your dollar and our savings. One way to fight inflation is investing in gold. Acre Gold has a program to make gold affordable in order to preserve your savings against future inflation. Check out the link below to find out more, and thank you so much to Acre Gold for making this video possible. But now guys, let's dive into this article. Before we get in here, remember, previous 2 years of gun ownership during the gun boom, the two highest groups of first-time gun buyers were minorities and women. And you'll notice, coincidentally, around that same time, you started to see more articles and more studies that said if you had a gun in your home, or if you're a female with a gun in the home, you're more likely for harm. This was directly targeted in response to the new gun ownership demographics. But listen to what this person is saying. They're actually making the case that if you're female, you have a higher propensity to kill yourself, so therefore you can't have a gun because you're going to do it more. Totally disgusting. All right, let's get it. Psychologist. Expect an increase in Georgia's suicides with new permitless carry law. First of all, it's constitutional carry because it's in the Constitution. It's not permitless. That is a leftist branding. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to show you how they're setting this up. Beyond the horrible vision of many of my fellow citizens carrying guns in public, they already could, by the way, I am most distressed over another outcome of this new law. I see the very real potential for an increase in suicides. Keep in mind, potential. So based off of that potential, you can't have your rights, particularly if you're a higher risk. In this case, higher risk would be female, because you have multiple higher chance of killing yourself, so therefore, you don't deserve your rights. This is where this is going, based off of potential. This is the way they operate. This is so gross. But we got to expose it, because sunlight disinfects everything. All right, let's get it. 130 suicides occur every day in the United States, mostly by handguns. So I love when they dispel their own gun control arguments about ARs, for example, because it's all with handguns. So let's stop talking about the AR. Let's shelve that one. So there goes one argument. When Americans hear that guns kill over 40,000 people annually, their minds tend to go towards criminal violence. It's probably because Giffords.org, Everytown for Gun Safety, Moms Demand Action, all they do is tout this 40,000, 46,000 number and say gun violence, which makes you think it's worse than it is, when in reality, they fail to realize that approximately 2/3 of those deaths are by suicide. So in proving this point, they forego the other point that they've been pitching for 2 years, much more than that, but recently 2 years, all around gun violence. You understand? These pillars cannot stand together. They have to stand by themselves because they conflict. All right? States where gun laws are most lenient and gun ownership is highest also have the highest rates of suicide. Governor Kemp and Republican legislators are moving Georgia in that direction. So again, this bill, this law, has nothing to do with more access to firearms. It literally says that if you already had your firearm, which is background checked, you can now carry it without permission. There is no loophole. There is no lack of background check. Nothing changes. There's no incentive to buy a new gun. It's all fear-mongering, okay? But here's where it gets real gross, and this is where some of y'all's heads are going to go on fire. Men who own handguns are 8 times more likely to die of suicide than men who do not, while women are more than 35 times more likely to kill themselves with a gun if they own one. This according to a recent study published in the New England Journal of Medicine. Keep in mind, the New England Journal of Medicine was also the impetus for the video last night where they said more children were now killed by guns than car crashes. Then you dive into the data and the research and actually says teenagers, and it was all from homicide, not accidents. Yeah, not the best source of credibility, but let's keep going. But keep in mind, men are 8 times more likely and women are 35 times more likely. And that brings you to this conclusion. The governor does irrefutable harm by encouraging anyone, but especially girls and women, to purchase guns. Scoot. We're going to sit there for a second. Set up a little tent. This is so gross. So what you're saying is because data says that women are 35 times more likely from an irreparable journal, not irreparable, that's the wrong word, whose confidence is in question, is you're now saying that women should not be encouraged to have their Second Amendment rights. Who are female empowerment people again? Because I'm pretty sure that every female in my life, I want them to be protected. I'm sure many of you are the same way. If they're in cities, if they're in areas that are higher crime, you're going to want them to be able to protect themselves, not be victims. But that doesn't matter because they're 35 times more likely, so they can't have their firearms. Also, interestingly coincides with females and minorities owning the biggest new stake of demographics in gun owners. Interesting how that ties together, isn't it? Let's keep going. Males are many times more likely to kill themselves with guns than females. Why? Because men own guns at a much higher rate and more strongly embrace gun culture. By expanding that culture into the world of girls and women, Governor Kemp directly makes Georgia's suicide rate likely to rise. It's now gone from potential to likely, and this entire thing sits on, if you're a female, you have a higher risk, so you probably shouldn't have a gun culture. You shouldn't have a gun. You do have higher risk, so we'll protect you, but we're all for female empowerment, but you just can't have this right. Do you see how disgusting this is? When you zoom out and you look at all the different aspects of this argument, it's really gross where they go when they're losing and they start to go into this route of, you can have rights, you can't have rights. And that's what I've got for you. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you tonight at the 9 p.m. segment. I'm Braden. See you later.